is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My substance of addiction was alcohol. Could be again if I were to slip, relapse, go back for some more research, find some conviviality or joy, or just drink my sorrows away. I don't have any sorrows this morning, and maybe that's partly because I am sober. One day, just for today, I hope. That's my hope, and I share experience, strength and hope about recovery on my videos. They follow the pattern of a fellowship, and that fellowship is Alcoholics Anonymous, and the pattern is to utilise 12 steps of action to help me make the best of what is in this one day. So those 12 steps of action help me with my attitude and behaviour towards living now, in the present moment. So all these videos so far, all of last year, and there are previous years archived somewhere, have been about how to live sober. So me, alcoholic in recovery, 35 years of drinking, addicted to the fear of life, I suspect, feeling less than, not quite sure, never quite sure of my place in life and who I am. So what did I do? I actually tried to be whatever I thought you thought I ought to be. So I lived to please other people, I lived to look right, I lived to fit in, I lived to drink a lot, because that's what people did around me, and I hung out with people who worked hard and drank hard and had relationships which were stormy, vivacious and probably short-lived, because there was nothing really deep inside me except a person struggling to get out, and probably awash with drink or in an ocean of drink. So what keeps me sober today? Well, family, friends, community all play their part in my life, and I play my part in their lives, hopefully. Just right size today. Nothing special except for this. Normal is extraordinary, or ordinary is extraordinary. And how to get sober? Well, those 12 steps of action, which I talked about just briefly, 12 steps of action for individuals to change attitude and behaviour and remain sober, in a fellowship which helped teach me how to live life all over again, because after 35 years of drinking there was not much left of me except a processor of alcohol. So AA, what is it, and what is the first step of recovery? AA, the statement of intent about what happens at meetings and what it's all about is this, and it takes only a few moments to read, and I read it every morning simply because it slows me down into the moment of now. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So every bone in my body, every fibre of my being, did not feel inclined to acknowledge my addiction, so I stayed in ignorance for a long time and in denial when I suddenly realised I couldn't stop. And there's nothing worse than having a house with no drink in it, and there's nothing worse than going to a party without any drink in it, and there's nothing worse for an alcoholic and no drink on the horizon, because we start to sweat and fear and get agitated and feel irritable and discontented. So my story into AA, well, I'm not a perfect example by any means, but I'm probably an absolute average example. I retaliated, I was rageful, I didn't like it. I used to sit at the back and make comments about why is that person speaking so long in a meeting, and going on and on and on and on, just like me here. So I'm going to stop going on about me just now and explain what helps me. In this book, 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, it discusses and illustrates what the 12 steps are about, and January for me is going to be all about step 1. So in this book, Daily Reflections, which I refer to very often, it starts with the first month and the first step. Daily Reflections is 30 pages, one a day, or 31 pages in January, all about recovery and what is step one and what's it like to stop drinking and find life again. So just a brief summary from the first step in here about how we feel about the first step of recovery. And the first step reads like this: we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. And it goes on to say, who cares to admit complete defeat? Practically no one, of course. Every natural instinct cries out against the idea of personal powerlessness. It is truly awful to admit that, glass in hand, we have warped our minds into such an obsession for destructive drinking that only an act of providence can remove it from us. No other kind of bankruptcy is like this one. Alcohol now becomes the rapacious creditor, bleeds us of all self-sufficiency and all will to resist its demands. Once this stark fact is accepted, our bankruptcy as going human concerns is complete. And you know what? It took me 35 years of drinking. It took me anger, denial, frustration, all those things to actually admit it that I was an alcoholic. And then acceptance of a way forward has been something on a daily basis for me. I go with the process of understanding my powerless over alcohol and what it means to me. It means if I don't drink, life gets manageable. If I do drink, life gets unmanageable. So if I stay away from a drink, by the minute, by the hour, by the day, that's as far as I need to go. It's a 24-hour program to sort our feelings out on a daily basis. And if we've got our feelings in a sort of balance, even when they're slightly out of balance and we're angry, we've got somewhere to go and share about it. So all those people who used to go on and on and on in meetings, what are they talking about? They're talking about their feelings and how to stay with step one on a daily basis. Not to drink, and life becomes more manageable. It won't get manageable straight away. It takes a bit of time. And AA is a spiritual program, and spiritual for me is finding the truth of now. Simple as that. Every person on the planet is spiritual, and we're all having a spiritual experience of living in the moment, and it can be wonderful or detestable depending on what is happening around us, and we can only make it worse by drinking, or even better by not drinking. So the 1st of January in the Daily Reflections, this book, available from any AA meeting if it's got literature and can afford it, and it says, I am a miracle. Anybody who's a drinker can't stop and has a day off and intends maybe to have another day off is a miracle. It says, the central fact of our lives today is the absolute certainty that our Creator, or nature, has entered into our hearts and lives in a way which is indeed miraculous. He has commenced to accomplish things for us which we could never do by ourselves, and for that is about drinking. This truly is a fact in my life today, and a real miracle. I always believed in God. Well, I didn't, but I've got a shrewd idea what God could be for me, but could never put that belief meaningfully into my life. Today, because of Alcoholics Anonymous, I now trust and rely on God, as I understand Him, and it is our personal understanding, nobody else's. I am sober today because of that. Learning to trust and rely on God was something I could never do, or I could never have done alone. I now believe in miracles because I am one. And the gift of that is, for me, God is truth, just the truth of life. As many people have said, God is love and God works through people. So if I can find the truth, be with people who've got some experience, strength and hope, I've got a clue what I might do today. And there's a serenity prayer. To God, all good conscience, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference for me is just for today. Do my video. My video is all about recovery from addiction to substance or behaviour. My substance, alcohol, my behaviour for those 35 years, as well as drink, was workaholic. and relationship starter, and a constant quester for life, a journeyman, somebody trying to do this, that and the other, an arrogant outlook possibly. And often if we're frightened of something, we try and blot it out, and often oblivion was my particular requirement when using alcohol. I drank because it was good, made me feel happy. I drank when life was sad and very, very desolate. And what I didn't know at the time was behind that was probably a depressive personality, and somebody who was not too sure or too clear what life was all about. And it's only in the last few years of being in recovery, that is, not drinking one day at a time, that I've built up some understanding of what life is today, and it's as good as it can be on a daily basis. And we all have objectives, outlooks, ideas about where we would like to be. And what's happened to me in recovery is that I'm finding on a gentle daily basis a better way of living. So I cannot solve all my problems at once in one day, but one of the things which has helped me sort out one or two problems a day at a time is being sober. And what's kept me sober is the fellowship of AA. And AA is not the only way. So it works for me because I work at it, and I met a bunch of people who have one particular primary directive, which is not to drink one day at a time, not to fall back into a malady of addiction, and just try to make life as good as it can be on this one day. So if you'd asked me 5 years ago, would AA solve my problems with drink, the answer would have been an emphatic no, because I don't join fellowships. I do things because I have self-will, willpower, and it will save me in the end. Unfortunately, what I found was my self-will, willpower would always let me down, because I was willing myself to be sober rather than actually living sober. And there's a great big difference between the two. If we're trying to will ourselves one way or another, we're continually putting up a brave face, hiding behind some fear, and utilising our ego probably a bit too much. And what I found is a bit of courage, faith and confidence to be doing the right thing and generally behaving as well as I can and making the most of what is in front of me. I stand a fighting chance of being sober just for one day at a time. So the 24-hour program of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, saved my life. And I hope that it can help other people, which is why I keep going to meetings. And you know, if you've got any idea of what you think AA is, some people think it's a cult, some people think it's dogmatic, some people feel that they cannot get on with the program, and many people sort of exit feeling frustrated because it doesn't fix them. And the difficulty I had was I was always good at fixing my life, fixing it this way or that, putting a sticking plaster over gaping wounds, and they seemed to hold for quite a long time. But ultimately, alcohol ruined me in the material and romantic sense, I guess. And what I've learned in sobriety is it's better to learn to do things slowly. Do less more thoroughly. I think that's my New Year's resolution, to do less more thoroughly. And I get great ideas on a daily basis now that my brain is functioning. And some ideas are a bit outlandish and impossible, and I know my choices around them are not that great. But other choices I have to make this simple program work. Not drink, get on with life. It sounds easy, doesn't it? But to try and stop drinking takes an awful lot of courage, faith, and building of self-esteem and confidence. And there are many ways of doing that, not just the fellowship of AA, but I like it. I've come to understand how to make my life work better. And on this small card here is the AA preamble, which is said at the beginning of every meeting, and I'd like to share it with everyone, simply because it slows me down and makes me reflect on where I am today. And it says this: Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. So we go there for one reason, to get sober, and we stay unique, authentic people. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So what it means is we all go into fellowship, if you like, with all the accoutrement of success and failure, whatever has happened to us, and we remain unique, authentic people. And what happens to us? We stop drinking, if we're lucky, a day at a time. And you know, the trouble with any addiction is we can get found out, caught out, and generally find life so difficult at one stage or another that we end up going back to drink, or whatever the drug of choice, or whatever the behaviour of choice may be, simply because we want that safety again. And the unfortunate thing with addiction is, if you've once relied on it so heavily that it's taken you over and completely obsessed you, turned you into a self-obsessed person around its use, then going back to that particular form of substance or behaviour is not good. It just means we get back stuck in the malady, in the problem, and not living in the solution. So the fellowship of AA simply is about living in the solutions of life, but not an alcoholic one. And you know, I've been trying to do this video and trying to find the authentic message to share with people who may be trying to come in. And simply, you can't share the whole program at once. It's a very simple program of gentle attitude and behavioural change. We change at the pace which suits us, and it enables us to have a better emotional, physical and spiritual outlook on life. It cannot tell you what your spiritual life might be. It can just enable you to find what spiritual is for you. It can help you sort out what your emotions are, and it can help you with your physical problems, in as much as most of them disappear if we put down the drink and live a fairly simple life. So what's my message today? I'm in year 5 of recovery, which is a posh way, or an over exaggerated way of saying I've done 4 years and a half. So I'm in my 5th year. And I'm smiling, sort of bemused, because that's the way we are. We tend to look on the bright side, the solution that we're in, rather than say we're only this or we're only that. And we stop saying if only life was fair. We start saying life is fair, we have a fair go, and most of us have the opportunities which are open to us with what we have in the situation we have. It's living life on life's terms. And that's the biggest gift for me. And one or two people have asked me to say some more about the 12-step action program, which I can. But if you're a newcomer, the only way to really get to grips with something like this is to take the plunge and try out a meeting of AA and see what it holds for you. In fact, try out more than one meeting of AA, just seeing what it can do for you, and seeing how people are. And what you find is, some people have been in for decades and very happy with their lives, or unhappy with their lives, because sometimes you know, we don't get everything that we ask for, but simply if we live in the solution rather than the problem, life is better, and at least we have a life to live. Addiction kills people. It's a disease, and it's not something that willpower on its own will cure. That's what I know for sure. I also know that if I tried to do this on my own, isolated, I would have failed, because there would be no way of me on my own regulating my behaviour. So what am I saying? I'm better off in the company of a fellowship of people who like to stay sober, who become unique, authentic people themselves, not some sort of bashed out robot, not some sort of I am now well because I've done this and graduated. We never graduate from the program of life. So life is as it is, one day at a time, and without alcohol it's gives us a fighting chance to just accept sometimes where we are for one day. So my sincere and heartfelt happy felicitations to anybody who's going to try and start on a sober path. And I recognise how hard that is. It took me years to work out it was good for me. And I'll leave it there for today. Just for today, life's okay.